Today, my guest is Konnar Bets, more commonly known as BravadoVGC, a prolific team builder and one of the new masters to the growing VGC scene in the Oceania region. Konnar has made a name for himself with a top four placement at the Brisbane Regionals earlier this season. Konnar is a coach, a voice and small tournament organizer for Pokemon Showdown, and a real up-and-coming threat to the Masters division. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Konnar Bets.
Hi.
Konnar, what's up, man?
Yeah, not much.
How you doing? Bravado VGC. How did you come up with that name?
Uh,
I don't know if that does it have a name? Does it have a history?
it does. Back when I was like going through playing all the games and stuff. I think I was playing Pokemon Crystal, I think it was, and I was going through Nuzlocke and stuff, and being brand new to it, I was like just failing over and over. So I was going through like the phonetic alphabet, alpha, beta. What was it? The army one specifically is Alpha Bravo.
Oh, Bravo.
Yeah. And then at one point, I'm like, oh, there's 7 characters, Bravado, that sounds kind of cool, And then it kind of just stuck one day after someone said, oh, you seem like a type of guy with a lot of bravado. So it was just like, oh, well, original sounds cool.
That's a nice compliment.
Yeah.
I like that. A lot of bravado. Who told you that? Was that somebody like at a tournament, or is that just
No,
somebody
just one of my close friends.
Oh, okay. I like that though. It's a good name, and I know that's like how most people know you, at least on the internet, right? As like Bravado VGC.
Yeah.
I learned today how old you are. I didn't know that you were like brand new to the Masters division. Like,
Yeah.
You're turning 18 soon?
Yeah, I'll be 18 in August.
No kidding. No kidding. And yet you're out here coaching. You're like you're one of the voices on Pokemon Showdown.
Yeah.
Like I'm like as shocked as anybody out there who follows Bravado VGC. I know that we talked a little bit before on like on Twitter and stuff about like scheduling this and figuring it out, right? And kind of getting to know each other a little bit. So how'd you get started with Pokemon? It's probably a lot more recent than like somebody. I'm old, man. I'm an old guy. But how'd you get started with Pokemon?
Well, VGC, I got into it at like 2020, I think. I've been playing Pokemon since I was like younger, so it's like 2012 and stuff, just casually. You get a 3DS for your birthday. You get your first copy of Pokemon Y. You're playing through that. But I like started getting into like the whole competitive aspects by like one time I was scrolling through YouTube, and one of the live streams I think for a regional was happening. I was just like watching that. I'm like, wow, this is really cool, And ironically, the first competitive Pokemon I saw was Incineroar. So it was like going through, and it's like, since 2020, I've just gotten a little more into it and stuff with like Sword and Shield, and made my in real life like tournament debut kind of thing in 2020. No, 2022. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. 22 to 22. Like once regional started to come back,
Yeah.
right? I know that like there was like a long period where that like wasn't a thing. But I'm actually really curious to ask you about that because, so I was playing VGC, and like, so I say this a lot, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record, but I've been playing VGC since like 2014, or like a little earlier than that, right? So like I was used to all these in real life tournaments. Like I've seen all the iterations of people like analyzing data and like new websites and new people coming in and out of the scene and stuff, and just like what was it like to like start like, I mean it was COVID times, right? So I know, like, I know people talking about like all these like influx of new players like during COVID, because like what else are you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna get really good at a game. I got really into League during COVID, so like I know I'm the worst. But I like seeing people get really into VGC at the time. What was that like? Like I mean I don't know if you have much to compare it to, but like I'm just tell me like how you found. Did you like did you start on cart, or was it like Showdown, or what happened?
So I started on cart specifically. I think my first like big tournament kind of thing was a global challenge for 2022,
Oh.
and I had gotten like a brand new Switch, brand new copy of Pokemon Shield and stuff 2022, and I was like going through, and then I was like, there was all these announcements for like this big online competition. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know what the format was at the time. I didn't know that you could have like a legendary on your team. And as a new player coming into the game at the time, I went, oh, who uses legendaries? Like that's like a
Like that's cheating.
right. Um, so I think I ended up playing like a Conkelda team or something like with the Dynamax and stuff, and didn't actually place too badly. I think the day one was like 13-2 or something, and then I was like,
Mm,
oh, that's good enough, you know. And then I just left it at that. Um, and then I met like a few online friends and stuff through Showdown, which I would like kind of found to like help me and stuff with like building competitive teams and whatnot, and met a few people through like Discord and whatnot. And it
yeah.
was just like, oh yeah, this is what a regular like this is what like a series is, and this is like what's allowed, and etc. etc. You know, and then
Hmm.
a few months later, I had my first regional coming up.
Wow. Did you so did you start with VGC specifically for competitive, or did you start with like
I
singles? Like
started
I know a lot of
VGC
people.
specifically. I was
Wow.
everyone, yeah. From
Okay.
all the stories that I've heard, everyone's gone to like singles first, but like I like the whole idea of
Yeah.
like the doubles format and stuff. I remember in like what was it? Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and stuff. It was like I really like the idea of like the multi battles and stuff that you do with like your MPs, like your friends
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff. And then it was
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
once I like dived further into it, I was like, oh, there's like an actual competitive scene and it's doubles, which makes more sense. And yeah,
I remember making the adjustment. Like, I played singles for I don't know 5 years before I ever got into
yeah,
VGC. Like, I remember learning that there's no stealth rock. like learning that people don't switch more than like three times in a game probably, or like maybe five tops, right? Like there's not a whole lot of things. I remember like having a conversation with a friend of mine back when I was playing singles like really heavily and saying like, dude, the most powerful move you can do in a game is switch. Like that's like the most powerful thing you can do in the game. And it's like, and then seeing BGC and being like, no, it's actually like it's powerful, but there's way more there's way stronger stuff, and the game is definitely designed to be played in doubles format, right? There's
Hmm.
so many moves that are catered specifically for doubles, like wide guard, right? Like what wide guard doesn't like you don't use that in singles, right?
Yeah.
But I guess it's I'm very interested like to meet somebody who started with VGC because like I said it's usually people like casually play the game. They get interested in singles. They'll play on Showdown. They find like Pokeaim MD, or like one of those guys, and like get really into singles. But to start with VGC, do you remember like one of the first? What was like who was like one of the first like inspirations for you? Because this is at the time you were a senior, right,
Yeah.
in the seniors division.
Yeah, at 2022, that was I was 15, I think, at the time. I think the
Wild.
first guy I ever watched, I think, was a Moxie boosted video. I could be wrong. It
Interesting.
could be
Okay.
someone similar. Um, but I vaguely remember like a Moxie boosted like team building video, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then like I dived further into it, and I found like Wolfie's like running stuff with like the Players Cup and
Yeah.
stuff with like his colossal team, and then after like fully diving through everything, I found Cybertron, and he was I think my main like
Mm,
source of like oh like a doubles kind of teams and like ideas and concepts, and through like the way he played and stuff, and like heavily utilized like how I saw things, you know.
okay. That actually makes a lot of sense. I remember when Cybertron was first had his YouTube channel. So it's cool to see that like he's still inspiring like brand new players to just like join the
Yeah.
game. Like it's so important. It's so important for things like this. I talk about this a lot about just like growing the game as an esport.
Mm,
And so the more people that dive head first or like really like commit to being a voice a voice in the scene and like getting it to the kinds of levels that we're seeing it now, right? 1,000 players at a tournament, like
right.
that kind of like, could have never imagined, right? Like I playing when I was playing when it was like a couple hundred, going down up to over 1,000, like actually insane to see
Right.
it.
Yeah,
And
it's
like
crazy.
how big was Brisbane? I know you got a top four there. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Um, Brisbane this season, I can't remember if it was 200 or three. I think it was 200 because we didn't meet um the cap for play for a day two. We were
Okay.
like just shy of it. So instead we had the day one. It was 8 rounds of Swiss and a top eight top cut. So essentially, it was you had to go seven. It was an X and one tournament, which is
Mm-hmm.
crazy to think about. It was
That's hard to do.
yeah.
That's hard to do.
Um, for my Brisbane run, it was a completely new experience to me. I hadn't ever been to the state before, let alone the city. And it was the first time I had gone by myself to like an event and stuff like without like my parents or whatnot. Um, the only other regional that I'd been to previously was 2022, and that's when I had Melbourne regionals and the senior division. That's when I got that was my first ever regional. I got a top four, only losing to Nicholas Khan, who is now the highest CP leader. Like he's the highest on the leaderboard for Oceania and stuff. Um,
Mm.
so Brisbane was like I'm in the Masters division. It's like big jump. This is the first tournament I'm like trying for because it was like the team that I used I'd end up using for 6 months straight, and it was like, oh, but like how do you do that over the changing of the like regulations? Well, it was like if you look at the team, there's no like outside of like Hisui Lilligant and stuff, and there's no like adaptations that was needed for Regulation E and stuff when the regulations changed with like Ogerpon and whatnot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it was the idea of the Scarf Regidrago was like the whole
Yeah.
key point of the team because it was um, you needed something to beat the biggest core in the format, which was Torn Urshifu, and I found that if you just lead Indeedee, Regidrago, you are always guaranteed to beat Torn Urshifu because Torn has to either because you're always faster than Torn with the Scarf Drago, which means you always outspeed and kill it. And if they go for a Tailwind, you redirect with Indeedee and you just pick up both KOs anyway. So it was like a not niche, but it was like a very interesting way, and it was like unexpected kind of thing. So people, like the amount of people who went, "Oh, it's a Sunroom team," you know, I've got to lead Torn kind of thing to set up the reigns. So that way, Torkoal can't do much, and etc.
Yeah.
etc.
And then you're just like, nope.
Yeah, and then it was just like, no, have a game two kind of thing, and it was
Yeah.
um and you know the one of the big points of what made the team go so far was it is like the ultimate gambling team. Essentially, it forces you to 50-50. It's like, do you lead Indeedee Regidrago? Do you lead Indeedee Armor Rouge? Do you go straight away for like Hisui and Lilligant with Torkoal? And it's just like, you know, this like rock paper scissors kind of thing, like the format
Yeah.
we're in right now. And it was
It's like almost a 2-2-2, right? Like you have a lot of really strong
yeah,
cores that you can come in.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like its own version of like 2-2-2, but then it's like 3-2, and then like 1-4, and it's just like all these like little different like intricate things because it's like, and there's like a defensive way you can play with it as well because like the EVs unfortunately aren't shown there, but like everything was EV'd to live like specific hits. Like Torkoal was EV'd to guarantee to live a Heatran Earth Power, which was like one of the biggest problems for this team because it shut down Armor Rouge, it shut down Regidrago, shut down Torkoal.
Yep.
Um,
I love Hatred.
yeah. So it was like it was always, and the same with Armor Rouge, guaranteed to live an Earth Power and stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then Armor Rouge was guaranteed to live a Shadow Ball from Fluttermane and stuff. It was like all these like little intricate things, and that specifically came into play and stuff when I was facing Yuki. He's a friend of Wolfie's, who's a quite a big and very strong player. In my
Mm-hmm.
seventh round, I believe, and he was playing his signature team at the time, which was Screens, Hisui, and Gudra with like body press and stuff. Yeah,
This guy right here, in 10th. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I ended up playing against him in my seventh round, and yeah, I ended up beating him, and it was like really crazy because it was like a 15 turn long game, which was not something you would expect when the team that I like, the this specific Sunroom team is designed to essentially be it's over in 2 games, regardless of whether it's either I do all the damage or I'm taking all the damage essentially. So it was
Right.
like it's I don't know, it's like one of those teams that I don't think I'll ever be able to find something quite so like it, in the sense of it's just so hyper offensive.
Yeah. It was definitely like it looks really strong for the regulation of when it actually was like in its prime, right?
Yeah.
I I'm curious, like, did you build this yourself? Was this something that like you that or is this like you in a like a group that put this together?
So because I'd been working on it for so long, I had like a lot of people have like inputs and ideas and stuff into it. Initially, the idea of Scarf Drago was an idea of my own. Like I'd faced, I think I ended up facing like a Reggie Drago player on ladder, and I was like, oh, this would be cool, you know, to use. And after finding out the whole Reggie Drago and DD core, it was like, well, where do I go from here? If I have in DD, might as well throw in Armor Rouge, and if I'm throwing on Armor Rouge, might as well add on like the Torkoal kind of thing. Oh, Ursaluna's doing well right now. Let's like slap that on kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd actually before I'd like been running like a very similar Sunroom team and stuff before Rage Drago and Ursaluna came out and stuff. So before that, I'm pretty sure I was running like a belly drum Iron Hand set. That was yeah, it
Sick.
was essentially just within DD, you just like you trick room belly drum or you follow me belly drum or whatever, and essentially you'd have like a nuke. I said it was your
Yeah.
Ursaluna essentially on the field and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Doing all that. But I had definitely had a lot of contributions and stuff. King of Yi was is another fellow Aussie player and stuff, and I think he actually stole my open team sheet. From like one of my sets, I think, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I like this. I'm gonna start rolling with it." And then after he's like, "Oh, this is like really solid and stuff," and I think he was initially gonna come to Brisbane, but I think he got COVID. Um, and we
Mm,
like kind of worked on the team together, and it was like really good
cool.
because it was like he was like the first person to like understand the team. Everyone looked at it and went, "Wow, why do you have like a Scarf Reggie Drago on the team? It's like a Trick Room team. It doesn't make sense." And
Right.
um,
Yeah. 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 They the reason I ask is just kind of like I know that you're really like into team building, so I'm kind of curious just like what your approach is to like you said, like maybe sometimes you'll take something that might not make sense at the time, right? Like a choice scarf on a Reggie Drago button. Like now in retrospect, like that sounds great, right? Like
well,
I'm kind of just curious like what your approach is to like team building and
essentially, it was I was just trying to find the ultimate meta counter. The
okay,
biggest thing that I was hearing from regionals and helping other people's prep for like regionals, big tournaments and whatnot was we can't you can't prep for everything, but you can prep for the big stuff, right? So at that time, it was Heatran, it was Baxcalibur, it was Roaring Moon, it was Fluttermane Chiyu, it was Ogerpon, it was like all these really big things, and everyone was prepping for all
yeah,
of it, but was negating the Lilycole matchup. You ask anyone at the event, they'd go, "Oh, what's your good matchups?" And they say the meta, and then it was like, "What's your bad matchup?" Scythe Spam, Lilycole, that kind of stuff. So the whole idea was meant to build a team that I enjoyed playing, being like a hyper offensive style, but finding something that was like it was like the chink in the armor of everyone's team. It was like you could
yeah,
never have a full counter to Lilycole and to Scythe Spam, and now on top of it, Scarf Reggie Drago, and have
right,
a then solid matchup into the rest of the metagame. So it was like a
yeah.
very
You can
anti-meta
exploit
kind
it.
of thing, you know? Um,
Yeah, yeah. You can exploit that kind of weakness for people to like try to prep for everything to where you end up losing to what some people would hate on and call it gimmick,
hmm,
but really like no, it's just a strong combination of Pokemon. Like
yeah,
it's not it's that and that's kind of like what we're seeing right now, right? So like Regulation G is here. We're seeing like people talk about like a rock paper scissors matchup as if that's a bad thing.
hmm,
Like in my opinion, like like in a restricted format especially, you don't want to. Would you rather have a meta game where you're losing to Calyrex Shadow every single game?
right?
Like, would you rather have that, or would you rather have what we're seeing right now, right? Where like Cali Ice just won, Zamazenta won a regional, Tropicos is like right there, like it's next, dude. I really think that it could like Tropicos could win worlds. Like it got second, it keeps getting these top eight finishes. Kyogre's like on the rise.
Hmm.
Maridon won a regional, right? Like the diversity that we're seeing in this kind of metagame right now is really really cool, and I'm curious what your take is on it, man, because like as somebody who's talking about that, like what's the chink in the armor, like what is it that we're seeing, or like you got any ideas for kind of like where we go from here?
Well, right now we're in a very hyper offensive meta. From like
Yeah.
the analysis and stuff that I've done over the last few weeks, because like like I do coaching and stuff, so it's like I find like helping others and stuff is more of my forte compared to like actually playing and stuff. Um,
Hmm.
but right now it's a very hyper offensive meta. A lot of Calirexes, a lot of Maridons, a lot of choice specs to Rapagos and stuff. I think this is the third time it's finished second, which is like crazy. Um,
Yeah.
I actually think that the Shiliang Tang with the AV Kyogre and Screens Grimmsnarl is going to be like groundbreaking in this metagame, because anyone who can stop a game in its path, like in such a hyper offensive meta, right? The whole idea is it's either you're doing a lot or you're taking a lot. It's no 50-50, there's no in between. Yeah, you have balanced teams and stuff, but even those balanced teams are very hyper offensive. Where
Yeah.
if you the first person to find that team to slow down the game, it automatically becomes a weakness towards the hyper offensive player, because not everything is usually bulky. Not everything is made to last past these like 3 turns at the absolute max. Like Raging Bolt is
Right.
EV to live 3 hits from majority of things and then kill everything in either 3 or less kind of thing. That's why it's such a good mod in general. With Grimmsnarl, I expect to see quite a lot of rise in Grimmsnarl,
Yeah.
especially
Absolutely.
with even Ting Lu and Wo Chen and stuff. Wo Chen's more of niche and stuff, and I feel like we haven't seen too much Ting Lu, because the issue with Ting Lu is its damage output. It's not gonna, like, it can sit on the field forever, but it can sit on the field forever kind of thing. Like, it's not doing
Right.
much
Like
unless it's spamming Ruination, Snarl, Fissure if you absolutely feel like it. Um,
if you're willing to just kind of take that gamble and be like, yeah, I mean, I either hit it and I win, or
yeah,
I just lose.
that's why the Sand Tomb I think is actually a really, like, in a really good place, especially if you're like slowing the game down and you're going to be playing that like really long game. That's why the Sand Tomb, like Gorging Fire stuff, went like really huge. But that's what I think. That's what I think is gonna like heavily like like that AV Kyogre Grimmsnarl team is gonna hugely shake up the meta. Um,
Here,
this is
let's get a closer look at it.
Yeah. So it was like the last, like this is obviously the last tournament, big tournament for Worlds, and that's excluding any like limitless tours and stuff that we have.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
an AV Mon, especially with like the special defense of Kyogre, it essentially is taking nothing from Calyrex. Even at like +2, +4, it's living like hits that it shouldn't be hitting. And with the coverage and stuff that it's hitting, like with the whole, it's got Bolt Beam coverage obviously with the
Right.
Thunder Ice Beam, but then double spread moves, Origin Pulse being Origin Pulse, like you're not gonna, it's an 85% accurate move. You're gonna miss it every
Right.
so often.
It's not
Yeah,
perfect,
it's not
but
perfect, but that's what makes it
it'll get you there.
so good, because it's like the whole like it's got like that underdog syndrome kind of thing. It's like everyone like, oh, it's bad. There's so much Maridon everywhere, which is obviously a bad matchup, but like, you know, that's what Terra's for. That's what the regional gimmick is for. But yeah, so with this team specifically, the whole aspect of having like the defensive cores of the Wochen, Grimmsnarl, Incin, and Iron Jugulus is combined with the offensive compatibility of the Urshifu Kyogre is, in my opinion, it's just brilliant team building. Like I can see how he was able to get so high as he did.
Yeah.
But like potential other causes that you can see for like worlds and stuff is now I'm a Ho-Oh fan, right? Do I
Oh,
think
dude, me too.
do I
You want to
think
talk? Oh, let's go.
do I think that he's gonna do well at Worlds or win? Probably not. However, I think that we
Probably
could
not.
see like, but it's like that whole concept of like, an AV mon with good bulk and good offensive power behind something potentially like screens, right? Especially
I
combined with
okay.
like another one is someone did really well with Zekrom recently, and these all like very niche picks and stuff. But like Ho-Oh's got enough bulk and stuff where if you slap on an AV, and you and a fair bit of investment, you hit 300 special defense.
Yeah, it's base 154.
Yeah, it's base
Like
154,
get out
and
of here, dude.
that's not stacking screens, And then it's
Right.
like Terra Grass or Terra Dragon are both like really good terrors for this current meta, and it matches up positively. I think it could have a decent chance at having like a good run. The only downside with Ho is the fact that it's like it's intimidate food, and
Yeah.
Brave Bird,
What the salt vest for
yeah,
sure.
with
Yeah.
assault vest for sure. And its only other downside is its lack of flying coverage. It does have Brave Bird and the Sacred Fire. However, you're losing like a huge chunk of
Yeah,
your
of your HP.
your HP and stuff, and you don't want to just sit there forever and recover. Or it does get the really good ability in Regenerator and stuff, so it allows like a better play style kind of thing for those balancy style teams.
Yeah.
Especially when you have the Grim Snarl, you can afford to run like a more offensive like Rillaboom or like a really fast Incineroar or something. Um, uh, what other things could be?
So
AV Lando Therian, I think that could also do very well. We've seen it like
assault vest Lander
yeah,
Assyrian.
we've seen it do
Okay.
really well in the past and stuff, especially in the Sword and Shield era. Mind you, it was more offensive back then because it was like a Dynamax candidate, and now it's like you have Terra, you can like throw out like a Terra Blast, but it's like more there just for a counter to Incineroar while having the bulk of one, and while being like that little bit faster, being able to sit on the field for a little bit longer. I've actually seen it's starting to pop up a bit, and it's actually special Lando Therian. So it's like the same AV set, but
Okay.
it's like you
Right.
run like CNC
Base 105
Storm.
isn't the worst.
Yeah, its special
Yeah.
attack's not too bad, but it gets access to the exact same coverage as Lando Incarnate. With the Sludge Bomb, the Earth Power, and the CNC Storm, and with the Assault Vest, sitting next to maybe like a Kyogre.
Hmm.
He's still got really good coverage, and now Sandsea's Storm has a 20% chance to burn either target. That's something that everyone forgets
Wow.
because the sheer force removes the burn chance initially. So now you have a bulky Intimidate Mon with a spread ground move that potentially could burn. So,
That's some tech, dude.
yeah, that's.
That's actually very so like because you come in with the intimidate, you have the assault vest, so you're gonna be really bulky,
Yeah,
like on both
and
ends.
then that allows you
That's
to
interesting.
invest into that special attack and whatnot, and then
Got grass
yeah,
knot too.
grass knot, 120 base power move against like Kyogre and whatnot, and it still gets it gets really good coverage. Do I
Yeah.
think it's definitely niche? I think probably something more standard is going to win worlds, but I think this is definitely tech that we could potentially see. Um, yeah.
Fascinating. One thing, real quick, just to go back to Ho. So one of the things that I tried really early in the regulation was exactly
Hmm.
this. I tried the Ho behind the screens. I was doing a clear amulet set,
Yeah.
but I like the assault vest idea. What I was doing was something like clicking Howl with Screamtail.
Ooh.
Yeah, so right because if you have the clear amulet, like you're obviously not getting intimidated, and the base 130, while nice, you really want to invest a lot in the bulk,
Yeah.
right? You want to be really bulky and really fast, or at least as fast as you can
Hmm.
be. You either click recover and be like a balance mon, or you can click a tailwind, right? Which is like kind of the other third move you can run on the Ho-Oh. This is something that I tried for a little while with like I'll tell you what it was. It was actually D Knight Chempao.
I felt bad.
What's
I
that?
said that's not bad. I actually think the Dragonite Chien-Pao uh could potentially come back. We are seeing a
Yeah.
rise of the Farigiraf with like the Miraidon teams and stuff, and
Right.
Indeedee, trying to cancel all the Miraidons, etc., as well as like the Rillabooms with its own terrain. But I think the idea of maybe like instead of Sacred Sword, you tack on like Throat Chop or something onto the Chien-Pao or whatnot could definitely have like a
Yeah.
bigger impact onto the game. I still think the Chien-Pao Dragonite is just heavily underrated right now.
Especially because like it's one of the best users of Terra
Yeah.
Normal, right? Like if you're gonna Terra Normal something, like Dragonite's one of the best answers, and that into a Caloric Shadow, like you if you most of them are going to terrestrialize, right?
Mhm.
Like they're not gonna stay a ghost type most of the time. So just spamming extreme speed into things as long as you've baited out the Terra seems fine.
Especially if you have the
Um,
Chien-Pao Sucker Punch threatening, it's like do you wanna do
right.
you wanna fold to a Sucker Punch, or are you just gonna fold to the extreme speed instead?
Yeah, you could literally click both and be like, well, take your take your pick here,
Pretty
man,
much.
because you got about two options.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, this is something I was trying really early on in the regulation because I was like, dude, I think Ho could be good, man. Like, it's so close because the regenerator is just so nice. So you could try to be a balance mon and like switch out, do regenerator, instant
mhm.
Urshifu, Ho, or put an Urshifu here, and you're pretty set.
Yeah.
Put an Urshifu there, and I think you're okay. I might try to bring this back at some point. I don't know. We'll see. But this is something that I thought was really cool. So when you brought up Ho, I was like, bro, let me tell you the sauce here, because how Screamtail gets How. You can also try the Gouging Fire, but then you're kind of I don't
Double
know. You're
Dragon.
doubling up on a lot of
Yeah.
typings. Yeah, you're double dragon, double fire. You kind of double up on a lot of things, but the Screamtail gets the Howl. So,
Hmm.
and then you obviously have the Encore,
The Encore
Encore
Disable.
Disable, and whatever move you want. The one I was thinking was actually play rough is what I was running because if you're gonna howl, you're gonna get your attack
Yeah.
higher, right? So kind of the play rough, but the chance to miss does kind of suck. But
Yeah.
just something that I wanted to throw out there since we were talking about Ho-Oh. But I like your idea of the assault vest Landorus area. That's actually very fascinating for anybody that's out there watching it. By all means, try it out. Let us know how it works out for you. What else you got, dude? It sounds like you had some other ideas.
Yeah. Just a little touch on the Lendo, the special Lendo set.
Oh, sure.
That was actually popularized for a little while in the Sword and Shield meta because it was like not
Mm,
as a Dynamax candidate, but as something to be able to live like the Calyraxes and whatnot. And you could EV it to, especially with partnered, like with the Intimidate and stuff, you pretty much just invalidate Zacian as well as like with the whole like Earth Power or whatnot.
dude, good
So
point.
it was like a really good meta pick, and you would see it like consistently paired with like the Regieleki. Um, I think right now, I think you could say there's like a niche idea for Regieleki, because it is something that naturally does outspeed the Calyrex Shadow. And you can run it with either Cloak or Focus Ash, not as something that is like doing a lot of damage, but even still, Transistor is a 1.3. Like, Transistor is a free life orb boost. You could
Yeah.
potentially, if you wanted to, run specs, run whatever, and it's still doing a huge chunk of damage. But yeah, so the whole
Right.
like Covert Cloak Electro Web, essentially it's like the fastest Raging Bolt you'll ever get, and that's another question I get. Why not just use Raging Bolt? Because Raging Bolt doesn't outspeed Calyrex, and
Right.
there are times where it's just like like the Icy Wind Flutter and stuff. If you have Covert Cloak and Regieleki, you ain't taking that negative speed drop and stuff, so you're still like pretty fast. Um, Unfortunately, yeah, it does get like very minimal coverage, but also you can run Terra Normal Extreme Speed if you absolutely wanted to. It's another really good user of that Extreme Speed,
It,
and
it does have experience speed, you're right?
yeah, and it does get the same and it gets the same attack stat as its special attack stat. So it's that base 100, so it's like still doing
Oh, it
it's
is.
still hitting fairly decently hard. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just like, or you can change it up. You can go for like the Terra Ice with the Terra Blast or whatever to get that full coverage. Um,
I actually had no idea I got extreme speed. That's actually That's really cool.
I it was a again another tech they'd run in like Sword and Shield days and stuff. It was like so that way they'd get the max normal move, can't remember, max strike I think it was, and it would like
Mhm.
lower the speed. And it was just like gives it that little bit of priority against like you potentially like Scarfalecki or things that had like Sash, that you couldn't quite outspeed because of like max airstream boost and whatnot. But in this meta, I think it has a very very niche case in the sense of like being able to slow down Maridon, Koraidon, Zacian, the Calyrex, these things that are just like outspeeding a good chunk of the meta and stuff that aren't always going to be bringing that Tornadus and stuff, especially if you can like if you don't have your own speed control outside of like if you don't have your own Torn, they're going to be less incentivized to bring their Torn, which means that you play for games essentially. So it's like you play for the game one kind of thing. You bait them into bringing the Torn, and as they're like you pair it with like Chi and Power or whatever. But another thing, Regieleki being an electric type, you automatically threaten that Torn. So it's like, you're just going for that
Yeah.
Electro Web can automatically threaten it and put a huge dampener. And, say the Torn, so it was like Torn Calyrex versus your Regieleki, you go for Electro Web, you live you Terra Normal and you live like an Astral Barrage or whatever. And now, after one more, after one, uh, Electro Web, you're now still faster than the Calyrex, I believe. Uh,
Yep.
don't fully quote me on that. I might get my speed tiers wrong inside my head. But even still, it's like it's huge. You can even run like Choice Scarf on the Regieleki, like there's a lot of what I really like about this regulation is the fact that like a lot of things can be like good. We just saw Overquill top 8 the NAIC, like
Yeah, we
like
did.
the whole story behind that was Daniel Walker. He's a pretty good Aussie player and stuff. That I actually ended up playing him at Brisbane and stuff. And he's been trying to use Overquill since it came out, and he's been doing all these little different teams and stuff. And
No kidding.
he mentioned
He was just like a believer from the
pretty
beginning.
much, and I believe he mentioned it to Henry completely as a joke. It's like, oh yeah, run Overquill and stuff. But on this team specifically, it it fit perfectly. It was like, oh wait, this is it. It was like the Regidrago kind of thing of the team. So the whole point of it was to be the Calyrex answer and stuff. The whole answer
Yep.
to that Calyrex balance team. Hitting crunch, and if they Terra, you hit it with
And
the
the
gunk
grass
shot.
types. Yeah.
And then acid spray, for the whole Kyogre partnering and stuff. And it was just like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm loving all these little like niche iterations of like what we think is meta, and then people just blowing it out of the park with these like brand new mons and stuff. Like I said, we saw Wo Chen do like also top 8. We saw Screamtail up there. We trying to remember off the top of my head what else we saw. It's like I saw this graphic, and every single top 8 team had a different mon that like no other team in the top 8 had. Like you see the Iron
Is
Jugulus,
that
you
true?
see the
Okay.
Ditto, you see
Screamtail,
Screamtail, the
the
Frugrap, the
Overquill,
Smeagol, the like
the Smeargle. Yeah.
the Fluttermane. Like it's crazy that we see one Fluttermane out of the entire graphic. One
Wow, that's a
Porygon.
good point. I didn't even consider that, but you're right. There's only one Flutter Mane in top 8.
It's and Henry. I'm pretty sure has 4 unique mons there too. One, he has the Volcarona, and
Yeah.
does anyone else have a Land? Yeah, it's 3 unique mons that no one else had. Like that's crazy. And on the Landorus as well, Scarf Landorus next to the Kyogre is a brilliant kind of idea. Being able because it hits the 167, 68.
A
Yeah,
167, I think is what it
167.
is, because it's one under Ogre Pond is the way I remember
Yeah.
it.
Um, and it's like that allows you to outspeed Calyrex. It allows you to outspeed Scarf Urshifu and stuff. And with the sheer 4 boost and
Yeah.
the Earth power, like you were hitting hard. So it's like
Hmm.
it was such a smart play, and I would not be surprised to see Scarf Landorus incarnate pick up. You know,
That's actually a good point. That's not something that I had noticed before, that it was a Scarf Landorus. That's in the rain with the Sandsphere Storm. Like that's pretty great.
yeah.
I like that a lot.
Grass Knot for opposing Kyogres for the guaranteed pickup onto Urshifu, and with the
Every now and then a Groudon or something.
yeah kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like I just this metagame, as much as it is rock paper scissors, people are finding the most niche things, and that's what I love the most about restricted.
That's the best part,
Yeah.
man. I really think that this regulation, like as, and we knew this going in, right? Like that nobody likes playing with
Mhm.
restricted. So, like let's be real. Like it feels like cheating. It's like, oh, everybody gets like the strongest thing. It's like, yeah, dude. Okay, well, so like you get a Calyrex, I get a Calyrex. Like we're playing on an even playing field here, right?
Yeah.
But it brings out just so much creativity from everybody. Like it forces you to think a little harder. Like just think a little bit harder. You can't just run Raging Bolt Urshifu, Incineroar, Rillaboom on every team, right?
Yeah.
You gotta innovate a little bit. Like think a little bit harder, because then it's likely nobody's ever played against your team,
Pretty much.
right? When you innovate something like this, and I think it's really cool that you take a very particular interest in team building specifically.
Yeah.
Like I think that's like really fascinating. What allures you to that specific part of the game as more than just like playing?
Well, the the way that I see the way that I see like team building and stuff is very much like a puzzle. The problem,
Okay.
it's like, think of it as like a math problem, right? Like I don't
Yep.
like math, but like this is
Yep.
kind of interesting way to look at it. It's like
I do like math, but go on.
yeah. um, it's like we have the problem being this is dominant in the meta right now, and then it's like, okay, what issues? What are the issues? What are making it so relevant, and why can't we fix it? And then it's like, okay, these are the counters that these are the things that counter it specifically. So they're obviously going to be prepping for that counter. So it's like trying to find this niche or this untapped potential in a mon kind of thing, or like a core or whatever, that people look at and go, oh, I have nothing for this. I have no idea on what this is going to do. And you have all the knowledge in the world because you've had this matchup kind of thing before. So it's like the whole idea that everything just like fits together like a puzzle kind of thing is really just what draws me, because then it's like, you have like this complete team that's like unique in the sense that may have something that no one's really seen, or like some interesting techs or whatever, but it's like it's a completely different archetype to what people were doing.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
when Gouging Fire was like rising up in popularity and stuff, a team that
Mhm.
I was finding heavy success with was what I had nicknamed at the time the Zoo, and it was Gouging Fire with like Annihilate and stuff, because it was essentially you
Okay.
would like get like
The zoo. I like
you
that.
get like bulk up
I like
boost,
that a lot,
and
dude.
I think I was running safety goggles on it as well, so you were like you get like Defiant, you'd like be immune to like all the balance teams, because like at that moment Raging Bolt balance was everywhere. So it was like, what's
Hmm.
something that can sit on the field the same time as everything else and just keep getting better? And it was essentially, the howls, the breaking swipes, Gouging Fire was like a really good disruptive option, and Annihilate just having like, 'cause there's like no good offensive physical ghost types and stuff. Like Dragapult didn't get Poltergeist back, so it's like, kind of useless at the moment in that kind of tech. And I think the only other options like Mimikyu kind of thing, which has seen like success here and there every so often.
I've seen a few Mimikyu lately, and I don't know if that's because of after Japan Nationals or something, but like lately I've been seeing a few Mimikyu, and that's been interesting to see. I guess I could see it, right?
Mimikyu's
It's got its own
a
little thing.
really good it becomes really good in like restricted metas and stuff, quite like Ditto, in the sense it like kind of like a built-in focus sash, but like you're
Right.
guaranteed to live like that Hadron engine boosted electro drift, that
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that
It's
Astro Barrage kind of thing,
the original Terra shell.
pretty much. And
Yeah.
there's two sets running around. You have the OG, the Trick Room stuff. So it's like, it was one of the most reliable Trick Room setters before the nerf in Sword and Shield. Or wait, or did it happen in Ultra Sun, Ultra? I can't remember, but before the nerf and stuff. And But another one that's also showing huge popularity at the moment, not huge, but like, like growing popularity, is Clear Amulet with Swords Dance. Essentially, because you Swords Dance, you have Play Rough, and Shadow Sneak, and it's your Calyrex Center essentially. So it's like, and Play Rough hitting Rhydon, hitting Koraidon, hitting like all these things, forcing it to Terra, and then you pair it with like Inertia Fu or something that just like deals with Mons after the Terra. It's like a really good exerts really good pressure for Pikachu lane essentially. So
For Pikachu cloning,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, I might try it, man. The Mimikyu might actually. I mean, you you might have just convinced me on it. Like it does kind of have a very interesting role, especially with all the restricted going around. That's a very good point.
yeah. Being that ghost type, immune to fake out, etc., etc. Like, if you tried hard enough, you could make an excuse for any Pokemon. With enough
Sure.
glorification, you can make anything seem like Arceus. Um,
Just that you could sell any Pokemon if you like
right?
put it in the right in the right thing. But it also, I mean, so I love what you said about the problem solving and the puzzle, right? Like that's something that I've talked about in the past as well.
Hmm.
Is just like you have a problem to solve. Here are all your tools. Like it's all laid out there.
Yeah,
Something that like that as an old head who's seen every single generation come through. Um, I like seeing the careful attention that like Pokemon has gotten over the years to very specific things. It makes me wonder like how much of this metagame was already played out before we ever even saw Generation 9, right? Because like people were seeing like Calyrex Shadow
hmm
Zacian, right? That won Worlds in 2022 and they were like, "Okay, how do we design Pokemon that can go up against this thing so people aren't just like oh like throwing their hands up, this game's terrible." Like Game Freak's really actually done a lot of work
yeah,
to give us some sort of balancing. And like there's always going to be haters.
yeah,
There's always going to be haters that are just like, the game's rigged, like the game's bad, like there's everybody's using the same Pokemon. But like look at top 8 at NAIC and tell me everybody's running the same Pokemon, right?
yeah,
um the but the careful attention to like Blood Moon versus Luna was not made just out of somebody's like creative energy. That was a top down or bottom up design.
yeah.
I don't know if you know what that means. So like do you know what that like that distinction top down versus bottom up?
Mm.
So to design something from the bottom up is designing the stats first
Right.
and then putting like a layer of paint over
Hmm.
it and being like that's your Pokemon and congratulations,
Yeah.
right? But really it's a statmon that just that has a very specific niche
Hmm.
that they had to give out for like, hey, thanks for getting the DLC. Here's a Pokemon that you might want to run against the Calyrex Shadow.
Yeah. Where I think,
Like here's Terapagos
yeah,
too, right?
yeah.
Terapagos is absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, were you gonna say the
Yeah,
same
with
thing? Like,
Terapagos, I think it's like the main reason why it's like a normal type. We don't have many normal type legendaries. I think this might actually,
this might be the only
yeah.
one.
I think this is the only
Uh,
normal type
I guess
restricted.
Arceus.
Mythical, but
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
and with the whole the Terraform Zero kind of ability, negating all weather or terrain kind of thing. It was definitely created in mind so that way that Koraidon, Miraidon, Groudon, Kyogre, Calyrexes and stuff. It's
Hmm.
just not running rampant and stuff, while at the same time not being broken in itself. Like, it's definitely a good mon, but it's not
Yeah.
like overpowering. It's not like here's
Right.
Zacian kind of thing. This is broken kind of thing, and then oh, it's a problem here. Have a ghost horse kind of thing, and it's just
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's the careful attention that Game Freak has actually put into VGC gives me so much hope for it like becoming like a real esport. There's been so much more attention
Mm,
to how the game is actually designed and how the game is like meant to be played.
yeah,
And I think there's a real R&D team behind it, and it makes me excited, and especially because you're right. So the metagame, even though has it been more 2 months,
um,
2 months maybe,
it's 1st of May, so I think we're about a month and a half in.
a month and a half. Okay, was does this still feel like regular? Because Regulation F had gave everybody whiplash,
Mm,
right? They were like, there's a new team every other week. I feel like while people are, I don't know, I don't know, like I think people are starting to like maybe get a little bit of malaise about Regulation G, about like seeing the same restricteds over and over again. But that's only one part of the team, right?
yeah.
Like I don't know. I guess it's a little different from the whiplash that Regulation F got, but I think the Regulation F just had a lot of popular Pokemon, right? It was like Raging Bolt was brand
Hmm.
new, like Raging Bolt was brand new, and everybody was like spamming it, right? It was like the best Regulation F Pokemon, and it's still around. I mean, there's two in top eight.
Yeah.
There's two in top eight, right? Right there.
Yeah.
I guess what am I getting at? I guess do you feel like this is the same kind of cycle we're seeing in Regulation G as Regulation F?
Um, I don't think so. I think the issue with we're seeing a lot of the same legendaries and stuff, like the same 8 legendaries. Because
Mhm.
obviously they're going to be better, and forever throughout the competitive future of Pokemon, they will always be better until the lower legendaries get buffed. So Mewtwo, Ho-Oh, I think with Terra, it got and Lugia as well. Both of them really do benefit a lot of Terra. Um, and I think a lot of these legendaries are waiting, like the black and white legendaries. The Palkia and Dialga kind of nearly got buffed with their new forms, but you really don't want to run the ores on them because it's not worth it. Essentially
Yeah.
compared to like like a life orb or something on it, but I think in this meta, the whole idea of everything is the same isn't initially true. Like you'll see a lot of the same calls. Like the reason why Incin, Rillaboom, Urshifu are so high is because they check so much with one slot, and in a good
Yeah.
ways.
Okay.
Like without Incineroar, every single physical restricted would go insane. Everyone would be complaining about how broken like like
Yeah.
Groudon and maybe not Groudon, but like Calyrex Ice or whatnot with like no Intimidate, no like glue kind of thing. But I mean,
Hmm.
you see a lot of like old mons fade out and fade in. The whole fall of Fluttermane and stuff due to like this new Calyrex Shadow and stuff.
Yeah.
The rise
There's only one in top eight.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like the rise of Iron Hands, like there's more Iron Hands than Fluttermane. There's 3 Iron Hands. It's benefiting off not only the Miraidons and stuff going around, the AV set, heavily living the both Calyrexes and stuff and being able to deal like it's like that really solid glue. And like you were saying before, it's like Game Freak has designed some really good mons this generation and stuff. We don't talk about Fluttermane because no mon needs 335 in any more than one stat. Um, but
Yeah.
but in a way, like it was all very very good, smoothly designed. Even with like the whole like brute bonnet thing. I don't know. You probably know this because it's been around for a while, but it's like even with max speed in like nature 252 everything with brute bonnet, and you lower all of its stats to like the minimum, you will be 1 point off from being able to get booster speed on the brute bonnet, which
Yep.
is like
Yep.
so cleverly designed and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. So it's like,
It super
yeah.
intensive.
So it's like that's another mon. Brute Bonnet could potentially come back because like Rillaboom is really good right now, and so is like the Amoonguss and stuff. But it's like being able to get that like really fast spore because Brute Bonnet's at like a speed tier where it's like you can EV it to just outspeed a lot of like the most common non-fast legendaries, like the Kyogre and the Terrapagos, etc., etc. Um, Kind of just going on a tangent and stuff, but like, do I think this matter is very stale as it is? No, I don't believe so. I think we are only just seeing the iceberg as to what's going to come. Worlds is going to be insane. Worlds is going to
Worlds is
have
gonna be nuts.
so many niche mons and stuff. Like anything could show up. Like I reckon Annihilate, I actually think, like I mentioned this before, but I actually think it could do really well in this regulation. In going off the Ubers tier and stuff of Showdown, Annihilate does well with these restricteds and stuff, living, tanking hits, and being able to deal a lot back. We don't know how that like correlates, in correlation to VGC and stuff because of the doubles, and the multi-target attacks and stuff. But it's like,
No, that's a good point. I never thought to like go look at what's being played in Ubers. I'm gonna go do that after
yeah, so that's
this.
a really good way of like analyzing, because it's like what's like a good set and stuff for like a restricted or any good mon. You look at the singles and stuff, because although we don't play in singles, they're gonna have probably like the better sets, so it's like, Terrifier Koraidon's been around since, Scarlet Violet release, um
Yeah,
and it's like all these different sets, and it's like, okay, in singles, what mon does this counter, like singles, like was mentioned all the way at the start. I got into VGC first, but only recently am I like starting to like look that little bit further into like singles and being like, okay, but why are they running this, and it's like you find these really good niche things, or these popular things that you wouldn't even consider in doubles, that would actually have a huge impact on the metagame. It's like,
right.
it's
Yeah,
insane.
I I need to go look at singles, man. You kind of like I'm sitting here just thinking, just like, oh, dude, what kind of tech have they figured out for like a year that we're just like not seeing because we're over here on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
That's dude. I wonder what else is out there. I mean, maybe we'll make a video about it when you should join me. You should join me for that because that would be a really interesting one.
Um,
Annihilate, I do think so. Like, there's a couple since we're talking about just like designing from the bottom up,
mhm.
right? So like there's a couple Pokemon that come to mind. Maybe I should make a whole video about this. Like a couple Pokemon that come to mind that have been designed over the years to specifically counter a lot of the bigger
Mhm.
threats, or to just kind of give us the offensive threats that we've kind of always needed or wanted,
Yeah.
right? So like you talk about Fluttermane,
Mhm.
like we've never had a fairy ghost type, but like as soon as fairy was introduced, we were like, dude, fairy ghost is the best coverage. I remember putting Dazzling Gleam on a Gengar and being like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And we were just like, when do we get the we so it was actually really funny. This is something I said back when back in X and
Mhm.
Y. I was like, dude, they just give us Mega Miss Magius, and it'll be a fairy ghost type, and it'll be great. And they give us Fluttermane, and I was like, close enough,
Close
dude.
enough. Yeah.
Close enough, dude. Close enough. So I like the another one is Annihilate, right? Like a fighting ghost type. They gave us the mythical. They gave us like
Marshadow.
Marshadow,
Yeah.
but that was like too strong. That was when I called forever ago. I was like, dude, if they just gave us like a fighting ghost type with technician, it'd be unstoppable. Just Shadow Sneak Mach Punch. Get out of here. You're winning every game. Um, but like they gave us Annihilate with a signature move of Rage Fist, right? Like I think it's a cool design
Yeah.
Pokemon, man. Like that's fighting ghost coverage is one of the best in the game, and to put it on one mon with Defiant, with like on top of a really cool like design,
Mhm.
right? Like they brought Primate back from the dead, right? And almost like pretty literally as far as the game is concerned, but
Mhm.
also like where did Ash's like Primate go? Like honestly, I love when Pokemon like intentionally does things like
Yeah.
that, right? But um giving us four like new legendary dark types in a meta where everybody was afraid of Calyrex Shadow
Huge.
seems intentional. It
Yeah.
seems huge, right? Seems huge. I like what you said about checking restricted Pokemon with one slot,
Mhm.
right? So like Incineroar again was probably one of the first ones that I can think of that was like intentionally designed to be a good Pokemon
Yeah.
competitively. I think Incineroar was probably one of the first ones, and maybe Gen 7 was kind of the creep because Generation 6 tried because it fixed a lot of the breeding mechanics. It fixed a lot of the real annoying parts of getting competitively viable
Yeah.
Pokemon. You still had to breed them, and so it had to be fair.
Yeah.
So, but they at least fixed it in such a way that it was relatively easy to do.
Mhm.
But Generation 7 might have been the first time that we actually got it, right? Incineroar, you mentioned all the stuff about Mimikyu. Like Mimikyu is a pretty tech
Yeah.
Pokemon.
It was huge
Um,
back then.
I really miss Ferrothorn right now.
Yeah.
Um, I I like seeing so many people just get away with free fake outs. like put a rocky helmet put a rocky helmet on a Ferrothorn, and like just try playing your balance mode.
It would
Go ahead,
definitely
man.
help. Yeah.
Like fake out into my Ferrothorn. Like we're seeing a Wo-Chen be really good with Leech Seed. It's like we're seeing a Pokemon with Leech Seed actually get top 8 right now,
Right.
and it gives me the Ferrothorn vibes. Like if we had Ferrothorn right now with like a Terra Water or like a Terra Fire or something good like that, that could just sit on the battlefield, and punish all the fake out U-turn stuff that's going on.
Yeah, like I
I
mentioned before, I think what'll end up winning worlds or like being the meta call is the person who finds the team that slows everything down because everything is so
Yeah.
pivot, so flowy, so hyper offensive. The one person, Gothitelle could potentially come back. I don't believe so because like Calyrex. But it's but it's
Yeah.
just it's like the whole slowing down, maybe like making like the yeah. I just think Grimmsnarl's going to do really well right now. I would not be surprised if we start seeing Grimmsnarl usage in the top 8 potentially because I think it's screens in Dynamax
Yeah.
era was so useful because it allowed you to leave hits and stuff through Dynamax, from Dynamax, etc., etc. And Grimmsnarl thrived. He was on one of the most
Yeah.
popular teams, being Renia's son, and now we're back in a meta game where the power level has gone all the way down. It's no longer being slapped with 140 base power moves every single for like 3 turns. We now have regular powered legendaries. Obviously we've got Terra. But like on top of that, it's like screens are now going to go even harder because it's like you're not being hit as hard, and yeah, Thunderwave. I think Thunderwave, Parting Shot, Fake Tears is a lot of utility, and yeah, and it's 120 base. It's 120 base attack as well. So like if you run like Spirit Break, you're still like slapping like a Raging Bolt for like a 2-hit KO, and it's like
Yeah.
good offensive
And
fairy coverage right now is very rare. So it's like
very rare. I I definitely agree with you. There's two Grimmsnarls in top 8 at NAIC. We could definitely see a war. I could definitely see a world where there's four,
mm,
five, six, like especially with like a covert cloak is kind of what I'm thinking.
yeah,
Like just something that's kind of like stop it from getting fake outed. Definitely, definitely is gonna start climbing because I think you're right. I actually think you're absolutely right that whoever figures out a way to slow the metagame down is gonna really take it. That or we just play hyper offense until the wheels fall off, right?
yeah.
Cool, man. What's next for Bravado VGC, dude? Are you doing more coaching? You gonna play limitless tours? What are you doing?
um, Yeah, look, I want to do more coaching. It's been a little bit of a dry spell at the moment. I had to take a short break from coaching to last maybe 2 months to try and focus on getting my Worlds invite. I was unfortunate and did fall behind with the points and stuff. I wasn't able to because I only attended 2 regionals because we live in like living in Australia. There's not a lot of regionals, and the only one that I had left was on the other side of the country, and I
Mm,
wasn't able to attend. So I did finish 42 points short of my invite. Um, but I think now at the moment, yeah, I'm getting back into coaching, analyzing the meta completely. A fair few limitless tours I have planned coming up. And I'm pretty sure locals start again in maybe like a month or two. So prepping for like the next season already, trying to get that early head start,
yeah,
trying
me
to
too.
get my 2025 Worlds invite. Um, and yeah, that's it's. I'm always around on like Showdown and Discord and all these kinds of things, just trying to help out as many people as possible. And that's just what I'm here for. I'm just like just someone to help.
Yeah, man. I look forward to seeing your name more on YouTube, on Showdown, on Twitter. If you guys want to follow Bravado VGC on Twitter. Is it just Bravado VGC? Is there anything special about that? I don't
It's
remember the handle.
that.
It'll be in the
Yeah,
description.
it's like that bravado or something. But yeah, just bravado. You'll find it.
Okay, I'll find it. I'll put it in the description. But thank you so much for being on the Fake Out podcast, man.
Not
Like
at all.
I appreciate it. I had a really good time talking to
Me
you.
too, man.
We'll definitely talk more about team building. I'm very curious. I definitely want to pick your brain about it. So we'll we'll work on some videos together for sure.
No problem.
So it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. And everybody out there watching the Fake Out podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 4. And yeah, thanks for
No
joining.
problem, man.
We'll see you guys next
So,
time.
yeah.